Hey guys, what's up? It's Dr. Luke. So, surroundings are a little different, and that's because we've moved. Dr. Yoki and I were looking for an apartment and we found one that we really loved. We're still working on getting things together, but once we have everything done and we're all settled in, we'll give you guys a tour of the new place and kind of go over how we ended up finding this place. Should be a fun video. In the meantime, residency. So I'm currently on night shifts. It's about 5 o'clock right now in the afternoon. So I'm gonna go over a little bit my process in terms of getting ready for a night shift, and I'll also be going over what it's like on a night shift, what are the typical things you encounter, and just overall give you guys some insight into what happens overnight in the hospital. I don't think it's something that a lot of people really know about. So without further ado, let's get started. So I try to get my nights going with quote-unquote breakfasts at around 6. I usually tend to have a bowl of oatmeal, mix it up with some brown sugar, some cinnamon, and some raisins at that. I usually pair it up with some iced coffee black in the morning, which I usually try to prep the night, or I guess the day before, and just leave it in the fridge until I wake up. So before even going into the hospital to get signed out from the day team, I try to chart stock a little bit through the list to see if the day team has started writing down any of the tasks that I'll need to do. That way I kind of know ahead of time which patients I need to focus on and which patients I should maybe know a little bit more about during the night. And these tasks could be anything from following up on afternoon labs, or repleting someone's electrolytes, or making sure that somebody's CT scan or MRI gets done overnight. So the way nights works is that you work from 8 at night until 8 in the morning. The night team is usually one intern, me, and one senior, who's usually a second-year medicine resident. I'm usually covering about 30 to 40 patients on any given night. So the unit that I'm working on right now is the infectious disease unit, and I've got patients here with all sorts of infections, many of whom have severe medical comorbidities like heart failure, coronary artery disease, diabetes, chronic pain, or HIV even. Now, over and above making sure that the tasks that the day team has assigned to me get done, my job is to make sure that everybody stays alive. That means doing periodic vitals checks, that means checking up on the sickest patients, and in some cases, responding to rapids. Now, for those of you that don't know, a rapid is short for Rapid Response Team. Whenever a staff member feels that a patient is at acute or imminent risk of harm or death, they can call a rapid. And what happens at that point is essentially myself, my senior, and the ICU triage team will rush to the patient's bedside and assess the situation. And then based on what we see, we can order certain interventions, we can administer certain medications, and if need be, we can escalate up to either a step-down unit or the ICU. That way the patient can get the care that they need in order to survive whatever's happening. Otherwise, we just reevaluate the situation and manage the crisis as best we can. My first few rapids were more than a little anxiety-inducing. I had a patient who suddenly dropped down to the 70s for their oxygen saturation. I had another patient who got so hypotensive that they ultimately needed to go to the ICU for pressor support. And then another one where the patient suddenly lost consciousness and the pulse, and we ended up having to order even more interventions. Now, thankfully, I had a really supportive team. I had a great senior, and most importantly, I had a great ICU triage team that could help guide me through the situations that I wasn't familiar with, and they could help me when it came time to making the important decisions to keep that patient alive. So as the shift comes to an end, the interns from the primary day team start to arrive at around 6 or 7 in the morning. At that point, I go over each of their lists with them, whether there were any major events that happened with any of their patients, or if everything was perfectly fine, just let them know, no events overnight. Once I've signed out all of my patients, if I didn't get any admission overnight, I get to go home. If not, if I got an admission, I usually stick around until 8 in the morning to go present on 8 a.m. rounds. And that's nights in a nutshell. One of the most challenging aspects of nights is truly how sick some of these patients are. When you're covering 30 to 40 patients, it's nearly impossible to know every single detail about every single one of the patients. Luckily, You have a whole team of doctors, nurses, and techs who can help you navigate the situation so that you can make the right call in the end. So that's it for this video on Night Float, y'all. If you guys have any questions or comments about what life is like on Night Float, hit us up in the comments. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Until the next video,